Hi everybody, good afternoon or good evening. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us here today. We are expecting a few more participants, but we'll get started and hopefully I'll be able to see and say hello to them when they do arrive. These are obviously very challenging times and we hope that you're all well, and it's even more meaningful that you've been able to join us here, so we're very grateful. To introduce our steering committee, I'll briefly go first. So hello, for those who don't know me, I'm Claire Petros. I'm a sea turtle vet. I've been working for the Olive Ridley project for almost 5 years now in the Maldives. And sadly, we mostly find entangled sea turtles in ghost nets. So I'll pass on now to Dr. Max, if he's there with us.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Max Polyak, Director of Rehabilitation and one of the attending veterinarians here at Loggerhead Marine Life Center in Juno Beach, Florida. We are among the busiest sea turtle hospitals in the world, and we function as a university level facility where we train visiting veterinarians and welcome veterinary externs year round. So happy to be here.
I'll follow up. Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here and to see you all tonight. It's 3 a.m. I'm in the Philippines, where I've been based for the last 11 years. And I help running some of the stranding networks here in the country. And I work for an NGO that work on marine megafauna in general, including marine turtles. So I've been involved with the steering committee for the last year. And again, it's a pleasure to be here today and share the launch of this initiative with all of you.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a vet by background, although not anything to do with marine mammals. But in more recent times, I work with data within the veterinary space. So I manage a team within a large UK-based veterinary corporate that take data from various different sources and generate insight off the back of it, both clinical and more business-related insight. And I've been involved with STRA for a little while now, and had the great pleasure of being Claire's vet father at university. So that's how I was brought into this.
Thanks, Alex. And Fabienne sadly can't be joining us this evening, but she represents Ocean Care in our steering committee and helps with any policy related to sea turtle marine world of life. So I will talk a little bit more about Ocean Care shortly. So that's the steering committee. And we welcome you all here tonight. So let's move on to participant introductions. The quick fire round will be similar to what we just did, please. Your name and where in the world you are, which nationality, if it happens to be different, and which rescue centre or institution are you affiliated with. So we'll go from the very top. I think Jeff joined us first. Would you mind introducing yourself, Jeff, please?
So good morning, I'm Jeff from New Caledonia. We are working in an aquarium here and rescuing some sea turtle and some in exhibit also. And we are French.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Next, Gwen, would you mind? Oh, not very equipped, that's okay. Gwen is, I think, on the chat here. So Chief of Animal Health at Zoo Miami in Florida, and building a sea turtle rescue rehab center at a hospital nearing completion. How exciting, thank you for that. How about Melissa next, please?
Okay, hello.
Hello.
My name is Kira Petrushina. I work at 1 year in China in Hainan Ocean Paradise Park. This is Blue Ocean Rescue Center, where I work as main veterinarian with many sea turtles, around 100 sea turtles, hawksbill turtle, caretta, lodgerhead, and green turtles. And our function was we rehabilitated all the animals and also released to the sea. And I'm Russian.
Wonderful, thank you. Melissa, are you around to go next, please? No, also don't have a microphone. Okay, I can read for you. Animal health keeper under Dr. Gwen Myers here at Zami Zoo Miami as well. Wonderful, thank you very much. How about Jill next, please?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Hudgens. I work with Claire at the Olive Ridley Project. I am not a vet. I am a biologist, and I work on sea turtle populations in the Indian Ocean. I'm based in Canada. I'm Canadian.
Thank you, Jill. Could I have Francisco, please, next?
Hello, I'm Francisco. I am a vet from Costa Rica. I work for International Animal Rescue. We work here with all kinds of wildlife, but occasionally we also receive some sea turtles also, Olive Ridley specifically. Hello, everyone.
Wonderful, thank you. And how about Greg, please, next?
Hey, thanks, Claire. Greg Lubart, nice to meet everybody, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm at North Carolina State University's College of Veterinary Medicine here in the US. I'm in my 29th year here and have been working on sea turtles since that time here, a little bit before that. And I'm affiliated with the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehab Facility, although my colleague, Dr. Harms, really does the heavy lifting there now, but pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rosemary, please. Are you there, Rosemary? Oh, also Zoo Miami, got you, great. Wonderful representation today. And Hemera, please. Are you still around? Oh, maybe not. Okay, and Marissa, we've been through, and Mary? Oh, Mary, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I don't have my camera on because the Wi-Fi in here is very bad. So it's nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Mary Bell. I am Mexican. I'm working in Caribbean Sea in Quintana Roo State. I am part of Sea Turtle Conservation Committee, and I'm the head of the research committee, but also I represent the Mexican Association of Turtle Veterinarians. So we work with all kinds of sea turtles except flatback. So we are like looking everything what's happening with strandings in Mexico and all around most of the coast of Mexico. So I'm very happy to be in here and share a lot with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And did I miss Marissa? Are you there?
Hi.
Oh, there
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
I'm
you.
Marissa Bezjin. I'm a veterinarian at Zoo Miami, another Zoo Miami person, but I do have a camera.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all excited to be here. As Gwen kind of mentioned, we are starting a sea turtle rehab center at Zoo Miami, which hopefully will be finished sometime this year so we can get up and running to do rehab in South Florida, which is needed. And just want to thank Dr. Max Poliak for helping kind of introduce me into the field of sea turtle medicine and get us up and running. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And just one more try, is Hemera there? I think that's the last person to introduce. If not, we'll try a little bit later. Okay, if that is everybody, I think we'll get going. So thank you very much for introductions. I'll go on to the next slide. Yes, here we go. Right. As you can see, oh, internet's bad. That's absolutely fine. Thank you for letting us know. So, having heard those wonderful introductions, we've heard that this is a truly global community as represented on this call. And this map here highlights where everyone has kindly agreed to attend this workshop and the one we had on Wednesday from Europe. And they filled out the survey for us. So these first initial meetings were initially designed for North America and Europe, with the intention of doing another round of the rest of the world shortly. As you can see by the pins, we have slightly extended the geographical criteria, but we will of course be expanding our requests for centre participations in both the global survey and the workshops too in the near future. It's a little bit slow on the slides. Sorry, there we go. Okay, I would like to take this opportunity now to run through the conception of STRA, its journey to date, its mission and goals, the benefits that its members will receive, and the opportunities for collaboration. Having had the pleasure of meeting and talking to many of you over the years and visiting several rescue centres, a common thread that surfaced was the lack of a platform dedicated to the medical care of sea turtles both regionally and globally. There is a large discrepancy in the availability of facilities, access to funding and expertise amongst nations and rescue centres. But despite all the differences, everyone's common goal is the desire to help and treat turtles as best as possible. And this is where the concept of STRA originated from. After several months of consultation and brainstorming, Ocean Care have been extremely supportive and have generously been patrons to the formation of this alliance since its initial proposal in the late 2018. For those who aren't aware of the wonderful work of Ocean Care is a Swiss NGO committed to the protecting of the oceans and marine fauna, holding special consultative status on marine issues with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. Since the initial proposals, there have been multiple stages to get to where we are now. There have been many calls to individual rescue centres around the world to inquire as to whether the concept of STRA would be useful, as well as consultancy meetings to best ascertain which softwares would best suit the structure of STRA and be easily accessible. Now STRA is at the stage where we'd like to hear from its stakeholders to make sure that STRA can provide the best possible service. In the last 30 years, there's been a great effort to improve disease surveillance, develop new stranding and rehabilitation protocols, build local and regional networks, and to push the boundaries of veterinary medicine for sea turtles. Despite these efforts, coordination and information sharing between hospitals, rescue centres, and researchers involved in the medical and rehabilitation field have been mainly characterised by uncoordinated initiatives of single groups or regional networks. Furthermore, developing and adopting standards or best practices in the field has been an unfocused and as yet ad hoc process. When discussing clinical cases with fellow veterinarians, there seems to be a common theme. Here we go. Many have mentioned frequent appeals for information and assistance with the treatment, rehabilitation and release of captured or injured sea turtles that are extended from the general public and field biologists to individual veterinarians. Often it is difficult to know who to turn to for advice, especially when the need is urgent, and with the online contact lists and local databases often outdated and incomplete. Last year, our committee corresponded with the respected thought leaders in sea turtle veterinary medicine, many of which are on this call today, to ascertain their view of such an alliance. With their support and their contribution, with material focused on their expertise in their respective fields, be it surgery, pathology, and rehabilitation, we intend to only share best practices on STRA's online resources to facilitate improved medical practices for all rescue centres. I'm going to go to the next slide now, if we can. There we go, STRA. STRA does not intend to replace local and regional stranding networks, nor any of the existing databases, but instead seeks to create a platform to share information at a global level and provide essential clinical training resources that have been unavailable to date. STRA's mission is to connect and empower the sea turtle rescue and rehabilitation community with the latest tools to improve the care and welfare of injured sea turtles around the world. STRA will do this by promoting professional collaboration, share best practice clinical knowledge and data to enhance medical application at facilities worldwide, and support the global conservation effort for all species of sea turtle. Sea turtle veterinarians, sea turtle veterinarians can play a pivotal role in sea turtle conservation, with our primary goal to treat the patient, rehabilitate, and release as soon as possible, giving the turtle the greatest chance of long-term survival. We can also cultivate awareness, create educational content regarding sea turtle injury and disease, and by promoting the role that sea turtle medicine can play in conservation of these species, we can inspire further protection from the public. Through research and data sharing, we have the capacity to extend our collaborative research efforts globally. STRA advocates and participates in One Health approach, whereby STRA is an instrument for zoonotic and emergent disease surveillance. In time, we would like STRA to be able to provide for its members a global directory and interactive map for rescue centres to ensure real global engagement, to foster collaborations, and to provide a quick reference for the general public that respond to stranded turtles. The map will contain useful contact information available publicly online and with more detailed information reserved for STRA members. We'll also like to offer its members a tiered online interactive cloud-based platform that will enhance connectivity between professional peers and the ability to easily link with other turtle vets, which in turn would lead to a greater sense of community and combined veterinary effort. Dr. Max will shortly be going into more detail about this platform, as well as a live case consultation platform between members and the ability to provide telemedicine support centres without access to medical personnel. Over the last few years, more complicated cases are emerging around the world, and with growing awareness, as well as the number of stranding response teams, means that unfortunately sometimes a turtle's life can be left in the hands of an individual with inadequate experience to be able to treat it. Telemedicine and live consultation offers a solution for this, as the video calling is becoming a common tool to provide needed support to ensure the best outcome for the rescued turtle. And STRA plans to organise regional in-person training courses in sea turtle medicine and husbandry for rescue centres and first response centres, the potential for which Ale will discuss further shortly, as well as a professional online sea turtle rescue centre clinical case recording software, a unified method of recording patient clinical and medical data, which Alex will also be covering soon. So the centralized platform can link to existing individual identification databases with the real-time online resource. We can connect existing databases in the greater sea turtle conservation world, for example, photo identification and tagging platforms, as well as shared education and awareness resources for members and partners. Many organizations have wonderful examples of educational tools. These could be readily shared within the global community on STRA's platform. So we also hope to extend the opportunities for pooled collaborative efforts for grants and funding. So I'm now going to hand you over to Ale to talk about the enhanced local and global capacity of STRA. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire, for the introduction. So one of STRA's main pillars is to provide a platform for building and enhancing local capacity there where it's most needed. So this will be facilitated, as Claire mentioned, through providing online training, collating existing material and creating new content, including lectures, instructional video, manuals, and quick guides. And we were thinking also about a shared member-generated photo library to facilitate learning, because some of the cases may be more common in some area and very rare in other region of the world. One of the roles of STRA is to facilitate the elimination of barriers, either medical, cultural, and economic. And often online resources and textbooks are designed for medically advanced facilities and poorly adapt to realities in recently established center or like here in the Philippines in developing countries. And in collaboration with local partners, STRA aims to adapt training material and protocols to local realities and local languages, taking in consideration, for example, local legislation, drug availability, and available local technologies. And to further facilitate learning, STRA aims to host, as Claire mentioned, a regional workshop in collaboration with local experts and international partners. Because of COVID, we're probably gonna start spearheading initiative online, and we hope to move to in-person as soon as possible. Regional workshop will ensure local participation and will also allow to tailor the training to local capacity level and local issues. That is very relevant from particular area around the world. This series of initiatives, both online and in person, will also foster local collaboration and the creation of a peer support network that is often one of the main barriers for professional growth in many regions of the world. And this initiative will also be supported, especially in countries where it's required, by providing opportunities for continuing professional development. And since collaboration is at the heart of the Alliance, STRA will facilitate the creation of a network of training facilities that will be able to host students, early career vets, managers, and caretakers, and provide opportunities for exchange and visit between centers, enhancing the role and impact of training hospitals and facilities and providing opportunity for growth. But I'll pass now the stage to Max that will talk to you more about the online platform.
Thank you, Ali and Claire. Now, sort of to the nuts and bolts of how the online platform is going to roll out. We're going to be using the platform provided by Microsoft Teams. And that has a lot of valuable features, if you're not familiar with it, that are conducive to this type of an effort. It's very good at organizing online resources and for sharing those resources among members. It also provides a vibrant, collaborative virtual space within which members can share different aspects of the STRA platform. The overall membership is envisioned to be free for all participants for the first year. And this is really targeted to begin to bring aboard and enfranchise centers around the world that are either in developing countries or have a nascent effort in sea turtle rehabilitation, and to begin to foster that and deepen those roots in these different regions around the world. After the first year or so, we envision the cost associated with maintaining membership to be approximately $50 annually, US dollars annually, for modest centers and centers that may be more developed or farther along the line in terms of resources, around $100 or so per year. The overall structure is going to be delineated by tiers, membership tiers. So the top tier, which I'll go into in a few slides, is going to include kind of what the clinician, the attending veterinarian, is going to have access to. So all of the online resources, the instructional components, all of the features that are kind of like the premium channel, so to speak. And then other memberships down the tier structure, the second tier and third tier, will have more limited access, and that's determined by each individual center's membership status and who and how they want their own staff to access these features. The funding of the operational component of STRA behind the scenes is going to be done through fundraising and solicitation of donations from interested parties who have a vested interest in marine conservation. And we've already had quite a number of individuals and organizations express an interest in supporting this effort longer term. So we're excited about that. The fees collected are envisioned to be used for workshops and for getting folks to those workshops, so that the greatest return on the investments, so to speak, will be directly to our membership. Then, of course, we're going to also have sort of a stranding hotline emergency status, so that people can call in who are not members from around the world if they come across a distressed animal. Ali, I think you have control. If you could advance the slide for me. Okay, I'll carry on when that picture loads, or the next slide loads in. So some of the things that we are able to utilize this platform for, and what we're doing right now on an ad hoc basis, are some simple therapies. A lot of the sea turtle vets that have experience already with these species will kind of recognize some of these things, and you know, the nebulization of smaller and larger animals and how that's done sort of with a variety of different pieces of equipment that are sometimes not very clinical, like a wheelbarrow. The application of total parenteral nutrition in the middle of your screen at the top, vacuum assisted closure device on the bottom of your middle screen, transfusions for a critical patient, and some advanced wound management instruction as well. So these are things that are easily done. These are things that will add value to a center. And these are things that are already being done now. And STRA will, and the platform will just facilitate the organization of the expansion and sharing of these techniques. Okay. Next slide, please. So the bullet points here represent what Teams, Microsoft Teams can do. And it can do a lot. We're just kind of scratching the surface in this talk. But what it can do here is featured. And some of the notable things are the ability to collaborate seamlessly, the ability to provide telemedicine, which is really important in our experience in rolling out an effort like this. The ability to have mobile access in remote places via your phone or an iPad type thing, so you don't have to be tethered to a desktop system. And the features we're using with Microsoft Teams come at no cost. So that's also a very attractive part of using Microsoft Teams and why we chose this platform. Next slide, please. So this is what it looks like if you're not familiar with it, kind of internally. It has folders and so forth, and they're organized just like this. If you're not used to it, it takes a little bit of getting used to, like any new platform. But once you're used to it, it's quite attractive from a navigation point of view, and certainly from a sharing point of view. So this is what it looks like here, and then I'll walk through in the next slide, if you can advance it, conceptually of kind of what we're talking about. So with the tier system, it is kind of broken up Teams itself into the team, then a channel, which would be the first column here. And I'm going to go into more specifics of tier 1 on the next slide, but this gives you kind of an overview. And then there are folders and subfolders that are, in this case, broken down into disease process, clinical presentations, et cetera, husbandry type of components, things you would typically see in the management and the care of any species, but they're customized, in this case, to sea turtles. I want to stress too that the access here is going to be highly regulated. It's going to be determined by individual centers and staff in those individual centers. They get to choose who gets to log on, how they get to log on, what they have access to, et cetera. So it's driven by the local center. There's an online storage and backup component of Teams rather, that is secured, and it's secured at a level that is, and Alex can speak to this if you have specific questions, but at a security level that banks use and so forth. So it's quite secure, and so that was very important for us as well. And also the content component that are in the folders, subfolders, et cetera, are going to be the kind of state of the art practice, the gold standard from which we're hoping centers around the world can learn from. And these are going to be peer-reviewed content pieces that come from the leading experts in the field in their respective specialties within the field of sea turtle medicine. So we're really excited about that. We've had great support from a majority of the experts in these respective areas within sea turtle medicine. So we're excited to be able to kind of propagate that out to our global partners. Okay, next slide, please. So the next slide is going to feature the tier 1 more specifically. So you get an idea, particularly the veterinarians on this call, of what you'll have available to you within the tiers, within the Teams platform. So it's very, very recognizable things. And these are things that, you know, I use on a daily basis in my own practice and hope to be able to employ with the STRA platform in the near future. And we're beta testing that as we speak. But these are the things that we're going to be have available to you, and how we and also have available to have the ability rather is to share these with colleagues around the world. So if you have questions about a case, about something in histopath or in cytology or something you haven't seen before, or it's new to you or something like that, or if you have seen it, you just want to make sure you're looking at the right thing and you're making the right decisions, that's what this kind of platform will allow us to do. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Alex, who is our guru with the data and with the clinical record platform that we are really excited to be able to share with you. Okay, Alex?
Hello, yes. Well, I'm not sure whether I can quite live up to that introduction, but I will do my best. Yes, so alongside the collaborative elements that are going into teams and everything of that nature, we're also developing the capacity to have a clinical record system. So those of you that work in larger or more advanced centers, or those of you that have worked as vets, it may be in a small animal, dog and cat capacity, will be aware that there are commercially available practice management systems, they'd be called. And they're basically a combination of clinical record systems, of billing systems that we don't really need, and of client management systems that we don't really need. But one of these is a system called ProVet Cloud. It's a Finnish-based practice management system, and they have very kindly are supporting us. And so what that allows us to do, as the lovely kind of radial diagram shows, is firstly to provide a cloud-based system. So given that we are all across the world, that's an absolute must. The system itself is designed for veterinary hospitals, so for quote unquote conventional small animal practice. That said, they provide it to a lot of university hospitals and other large centers. And so the functionality has been built out quite a lot in terms of managing inpatients. That's not the only thing that it does, but the point is that for those of you that are managing turtles within a hospital setting over multiple days, it certainly amongst the commercially available systems is really at the far ends of that. And then what we're doing off the back of that is customizing the system specifically for sea turtles. Now, it's a hugely valuable system. If we were purchasing it commercially, it would, we would be looking at tens of thousands of dollars, and we're very grateful that it's coming to us for free. But we have to accept that we have to live within the parameters of what that system can do. We're not going to be able to kind of ask for developments, given that they're already so kindly supporting us. So what we're doing is, and we can do this relatively robustly, is coming up with the best way to use this system for turtles. Now, the core of it in terms of clinical record keeping is very easily customizable, because ultimately that flow through a hospital is the same, whether it's whether you're dealing with a turtle or whether you're dealing with other animals. Some of the extra bits we're having to be a little bit more ingenious in exactly how we customize it, but that is it's in no way insurmountable. So we're customizing wherever we can, and we are starting sooner rather than later to start to pilot this in small centers. I think it's really important that we start off with small centers that maybe don't have a system before, so we can start to understand how we use it and improve it before we move on to larger centers that maybe have another system they're used to using, have very established workflows, etc. Now, along with the customizing of the system itself, we are developing a clinical coding structure. So this is medications, this is medications, procedures, species, breeds, but coming up with a structured way that is agnostic of things like trade names and can be used in as much as possible in different languages, although it will be obviously written in English, but using scientific drug descriptions rather than trade names that might be different. The idea of that being that when we have both a cloud-based system with a structure of data that we can take out, and we also have a structured clinical coding system that is common, then we can use that data in some really exciting ways. And so if we, do I have control over the slide? Ale, could you move the slide on if you've got, oh, there we go. Well, I think we've both gone at the same time. Perfect. So this is just, this is obviously ProVet Cloud, and just gives an idea of a few of the more in-depth hospital elements. But as I said, this is it's an overview, and this is, we're very early days in terms of the rollout. So this is really to conceptualize what's coming. and hopefully to get a bit excited about it. But maybe that is, maybe not everyone is excited about data as I am, but to just see sort of where we are. Now, what I'm going to do is attempt to share my screen. So this is the front end of Provet Cloud. I'll just go through a few basic parts of it because we're still, as you can tell, in the testing phase and developing. So hopefully what you can see from this, it's a pretty clean user interface. It's usable. It's relatively modern, and you shouldn't entirely judge a book by a cover. But if software comes and looks like it's from the 1990s, it's very likely that also the back end of it, the core structure, is also from the 1990s. So just as a few example screens, if we go to register a new patient, so we'll go into the imaginatively named client test and look at adding a new patient, you can see you have a series of fields here that you can add in the details of that specific turtle. We have turtle species already built into this. We have, and I'll get in trouble for mentioning this again, we do have date of birth. The point is that you can put in years rather than months and days. I realize that it's something of a broad estimate, but certainly if, say, you're working with neonates, or you think it's valuable to have a punt within 20 years as to how old a turtle is, it can that can go in as well. Date of registration, which is obviously the date that you found them, and we have extra fields here, and we're currently assessing exactly which are the best identifiers, because what I am learning as someone relatively new to the turtle field is there are about as many different ways to identify and register turtles as there are turtles currently under the stewardship of the people that we deal with. So that is the first screen, but what is arguably more interesting is if we go into a patient screen. As you can see, there's a nice kind of top bar, so you can see exactly what you're doing. And if we go into the consultation here, and I realize I'm whizzing about a bit, obviously when we roll this out to centers, it'll be very careful in how we explain this, but this is the screen that you would put in your clinical notes. This is where you would put in drugs that have been given to these animals. You can structure treatment plans. There's lots of rich information here. What we're doing with the clinical notes, and again, this is a template, is we're putting together a structure of the questions that we would want to be asking within that intake form. And there'll be options, there'll be space for free text, but where we can have structured data input, obviously that gives you the benefit of having structured data that is available for research later on down the line. The other benefit from that is, and I know we've got some very established and eminent centers on the call for whom, nudges and prods probably aren't that exciting, but given that we're trying to both supply something that is useful for large and established centers, but also support smaller and newer centers, by having that structured form, it then gives a prompt of what is a gold standard clinical exam of a turtle, what is a gold standard post-mortem examination of a turtle, and captures that data in a structured way, whether it's a very small center or a large one. So that's one component. I mentioned that within the treatments, if we add a medicine, I've gone for the good old standby as our trial of Pred. Not only are you putting in specific dosages that you're giving of a specific medicine, but what you can also do is set up treatment plans so that you can put in, one person can define, these are the times that this animal needs to be fed, these are the times that it needs medications, and then someone else can do that, and you have that whole auditing process of seeing exactly what has and hasn't been done. So there's lots of rich functionality within Provet, and we will, we're looking to roll it out as quickly as we can, while balancing the desire to make sure that it lands really well and that we get the customization right before we move on to larger and more complicated centers. So centers that are living off Excel spreadsheets can only go upwards, so they're a little bit easier to manage. So this structure, and I've sort of alluded to various bits of this, gives an idea of the process that we're going through. So at the moment, we're developing that clinical coding structure, we're customizing the system, we're faffing around with exactly how it will work. We'll then be piloting that in a number of small centers so that we start to actually learn what does work and what doesn't in a real setting. But then this is where it gets interesting, and this is where we'll be treading a very careful path, in that we need to develop the technical capacity to aggregate this data up. So there's a certain elements of that are simply keeping it within the system, but cleaning it up. But also it's the idea of being able to put it into clean data sets that could be available to research. The next part of that is coming up with very clear governance and a benefits case in terms of this is all the value that could be got from a collaborative approach. And I think what's important about all of that is once we've got some data in, it's a lot easier to conceptualize what we could do, what we would want to do, and what we might not feel comfortable with doing. Whereas at the moment, all of those discussions are very kind of nebulous. But once we've got that, then we can get into the meat of discussing and reaching agreement in terms of data sharing, in terms of collaboration. And that leads us to our final glorious end goal, which is that we are creating a growing uniform data set of clinical records of turtles across the world that could, as that data set grows, provide huge insights in terms of using advanced analytics, using some data science resources that we have available to us to drive understanding that we might not get. But as I said, all of that has to be done very carefully so that we bring people with us, because I entirely understand that it is, for some people, a real face it, even the concept of anyone having access to data. So as I said, and I hope it's really coming across that we take a very careful approach, but if we get it right, we could have a hugely valuable tool for the sea turtle community in the future. So that is where I will leave you.
Thank you, Max. All right, let's go on to the next slide. So present and future plans. So as Max was just describing, we are presently in the process of building the Teams platform, but this really does require a collaborative effort of many vets, especially specialists in their field, to provide content, and obviously also other vets to volunteer to proofread this content. So the idea is that it's all been fact checked and it is as good and gold standard as it can possibly be. We're also producing video tutorials filmed from well-established rescue centres to provide training material for newer or less well-equipped centres. And we are asking for volunteers to create regional committees. And as Alex was just mentioning, we're at the process of customising the software of ProVet, and we have a few centres that have been lined up and really excited to get going as pilot rescue centres. Obviously, this is a bit COVID dependent. We were hoping to do this in person, but as you can tell, this is going to be more of an online virtual introduction to ProVet. We are officially launching the Alliance on the 3rd of March, which happens to be World Wildlife Day. Obviously, we would like as many of centres as possible to be involved with that sort of social media launch. So if you do want to get involved, please do get in touch with us. So info@seaturtlerescuealliance.org. And we also have the website that I'll just show you shortly. So we're basically looking for, and actively looking for, please, content creators for best practice guidelines, and then any vets that want to peer review those guidelines too. So proofread all the content, and then, as Mary was just saying, translators. This is going to be, and hopefully will be, a very truly global collaboration. So we're looking to translate the documents that we have into as many languages, obviously key languages which work with sea turtles. And then also interesting clinical cases. So we do have a social media platform. So we're hoping to sort of showcase wonderful cases from around the world. So if you do have interesting cases that you feel like you might be wanting to share, we'll have like a template on Teams as well to make sure that we're getting all the useful information to showcase those cases. And of course, geographical, medical specialties and management coordinators. So STRA is an alliance, and it's going to be for collaboration of vets. So we want you to take part in it as much as possible. So that's something that to really take home. It's a global initiative. This is the website. It's just www.seaturtlerescuealliance.org. And like I mentioned earlier, we have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, although haven't really started using Twitter yet. But when we do get some wonderful clinical cases, it might be something to start using. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please do feel free to ask. We're going to be sticking around here for a few more minutes at least. I'd just like to say again, really huge thank you to Ocean Care for providing the funding to create the Alliance as it is so far. And obviously STRA's steering committee have been monumental in getting it to where we are. And the Marva team have also been very helpful with the presentations, facilitating the previous meeting as well. And also like to all the rescue centres that we've already been in touch with. There's just been so many international calls and very many, I couldn't even name all the countries so far that we've already spoken to. So really thank you for your input. Yeah, and obviously the rescue centres that we're involved with, so the Olive Ridley Project for myself, Loggerhead Marine Life Centre for Max, and the Le Marve for Ale, and again, just Ocean Care for being absolutely wonderful at supporting us so far.